Have you and our first lady. I know to be with everybody.
Coming up on the live stream, President Trump insists that American schools open for business. Otherwise, where are rich kids like him going to find smart kids to take their SAT? Jump on in to the live stream. Hello and welcome everyone to the live stream. Sorry, there's been some delays today. Exciting things are happening, I hope. And I might be heading back down to LA soon. So keep good thoughts. Kevin Lee Daughter and I have an audition for a commercial tomorrow. And that's all I can tell you about that. So, moving on. Hey, everybody. Good to see you here in the chat room. Hey, Carol. Good to see you. Jana. Lizzie Dog. Lizzie Dog is on Twitch, so she can swear all she wants. If you'd like to chat with us, please join in. If you don't want to chat with us, that's fine too. I get it. I wouldn't want to talk to me. Everybody in the chat room over there, good to see you. If you'd like to get into the chat room, the best way to do that is to go to youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. It's the fastest stream. But if you go to Twitch like Lizzie Dog there, you can swear up a storm and Twitch won't block you. If you are in the YouTube chat room, we can hope that Danielle's here. She's our moderator. So if she sees you swearing in the chat room and she decides you're worthy, she can send the chat through for the whole group. So, David, good to see you. Anybody else? Mueller. This is the President of the United States. And he's going to talk about opening up the schools. So, and then he's going to say something about Harvard at the end of it. I've listened to some of this. This happened earlier today. And I was busy doing stuff. So some of it I heard before. Hey, Casey. Some of it I haven't. So let's experience this together.
Well, thank you very much.
This is just a Dear Leader roundtable. Everybody's going to say how great he is, etc. The nice thing about doing this delayed is that we can skip ahead through just about everybody.
It's an honor to be with everybody, and very importantly, we're at the White House, and there's no place like the White House.
Wait a minute. Jackie just said F Trump, and it went right through. I don't know why I just censored myself. Unless, Danielle, did you okay that? I'm going to okay this one. Dr. Howard just said Trump F's. I don't know why I'm censoring stuff today. Oh, probably I got a commercial audition. I got to be bipartisan.
And
nonpartisan.
For those of you that this is the first time, I know exactly what you're thinking, because I was here a first time and it was still something I'll never forget. So it's great to have you, and our First Lady and I are pleased to welcome everybody to this wonderful place and discuss the vital importance of safety and reopening America's schools. We want to reopen the schools. Everybody wants it. The moms want it. The dads want it. The kids want it. It's time to do it. You know,
the teachers don't necessarily want it. So 25% of teachers, this is according to Ron DeSantis this morning. It was either Ron saying, I was listening to it, it could be Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, or somebody else at the press conference was saying that 25% of their teachers have some sort of underlying condition. So what are there, roughly 3 million teachers in the United States? Somebody can look that up. Using just general math, you're looking at over 500,000 that are 60 plus, therefore in a high risk group, plus whatever percentage, if we trust Florida, which has an older population, but let's just say roughly 1/4 of all teachers have an underlying condition and should not be around other people during this time. 1/4 of teachers.
Mortality rate is right now at a level that people don't talk about, but it's down tenfold. So you look at deaths are way down.
Deaths are way down. The mortality rate is not down tenfold. And something doesn't go down tenfold. That's not how it works. It can go up tenfold. It can increase tenfold. It goes down 90%. Something doesn't go down tenfold. That would be if you had $100 and then you were $900 in the hole, you would be Trump. I've seen his taxes.
Down from this horrible China virus, and it's a disgrace that it happened. Shouldn't have happened, but it did. And the economy is coming back, and it's coming back strongly.
Thank you. 3.7 million teachers. I was only off by a factor of 0.7 million. So 500 to 600,000 or 60 plus, and then 25% of those. So you're talking about almost 1 million people have underlying conditions. 1 million teachers have underlying condition. Get into the classrooms with the kids who can't wear masks and blow their nose on their sleeves, which is probably, I don't know if that's protective.
Jobs are setting records. For 2 months ago, they set the.
Wow, look at you at random coming up with the stats. 2002, 2003, 23% of teachers were 50 to 59, 7% over 60. So you're still in that high risk group. So you're still talking about, almost a third of teachers altogether should not be in the classroom. And when I looked it up, it was teachers 60 plus. I think that was in the California school system or something like that. But let's go on.
Record, and then again, almost 5 million new jobs last month, which is.
None of those jobs were new. We lost 588,000 permanent jobs. The jobs were just temporary. They weren't new. They were temporarily paused. And then, anyway, we talked about that another day.
It's a record.
Hey, Cam.
And it broke our last record of a month before. So the numbers are happening much faster than anybody anticipated.
No.
The stock market, NASDAQ, just hit another record today. And the markets generally are just really a very small amount below where they were at the height of the market when we first had to do this about 4.5, 5 months ago. And it's incredible what's happening.
Imagine how high they would be if we didn't have to do this. If Trump had tested and contained.
Happened. When you look at education, my administration has approved $13 billion for state and local education. We've approved over $6 billion to support colleges and another $6
He does. That's a good call, Jackie. He sounds like he's got a stuffed up nose, doesn't he?
billion in emergency grants to students, very importantly. We waived standardized testing requirements, deferred federal student loan and interest payments. So you take a look at the student loan program. We've waived student loan and interest payments, and that is something that people haven't been hearing about, and nobody talks about it, but it's a big deal. We've pioneered new.
Well, nobody talks about it because it doesn't really affect anything. That's what would happen anyway, and it doesn't help students. He said before that it really helps the students. You don't pay the student loans while you're a student. That's the way student loans were. That's the way it was when I was a student. I got so much student debt that I ended up with financial aids. That's a 1990s joke.
Treatments that are dramatically improving the health outcomes. Vaccines are doing very well. Therapeutics.
Yeah, 588K. To go back and explain, Cam is asking a question. What does that mean, 588 permanent jobs? So we lost X number of millions of jobs. No one's really sure how many, but let's just say 30 million jobs were lost. Okay, so we just got 4.7 million of those jobs that were paused. They weren't lost. They were just like, hey, we're in restaurants. All the restaurants are closed right now. We don't need the staff. Or movie theaters. Better example, movie theaters. Now some states are opening up the movie theaters. We need that staff back. Boom. There's your gain. It's not really new jobs. It's just people returning to the jobs that they already had. Plus, now businesses are getting their PPP, which is government socialized money coming to them that they can use to pay the employees, whether those employees are working or not. So that makes the unemployment numbers look better. But it's just money coming from the federal government. Sorry, it's money coming from China and the World Bank to pay American workers. So that helps. But we also lost 588,000 permanent jobs, almost a million with the month before, because the month before we lost 295. So we're almost at 1 million permanent jobs that are just not coming back. You know those places you've seen around town, like a restaurant that says, "Hey, thanks for your time, but we're not coming back from this. We're out of business." All those businesses that were hanging by a thread beforehand and have closed down permanently, those jobs are now considered gone by the BLS. So those are permanent jobs gone. Very, very few new jobs. A net of 4.7 million, but a loss of actual jobs, permanent jobs, gone forever, of almost 600,000.
Are doing very well. The therapeutic research has been incredible. And I think you're going to have a lot of big things happening long before the end of the year on both vaccines and therapeutics.
Okay.
Therapeutics is, I guess, a little bit of a word we can use for on the way to a cure. But
Nope.
they make you better. I mean, to me, the therapeutic is even more important than the vaccine at this point because
It's better not to get sick. So I'm just gonna opinion check that, and he's wrong.
people will get better. But the numbers are, the testing numbers are the highest they've ever been. We're almost up to 40 million.
I mean, of course, the testing numbers are the highest they've ever been. Every time you do another test, it's now the highest they've ever.
In testing, and 40 million people, which is unheard of, far more than any other country, many times what any other country is, and therefore we have more cases.
Well, that's just
because
bullshit.
we're doing more testing, we have more cases. If we did half the testing, we'd have far fewer cases. But
We would still have the same number of
people
cases.
don't view it that way. What they have to view, though, is if you look at the chart, and maybe Mike has it, but we looked at it before. If you look at the chart of deaths, deaths are way down. So what we want to do is we want to get our
Okay, a quick fact check. I pulled the chart up, and let me show it to you guys, because why not? Where is it? There it is. So here are the actual numbers of tests. First off, China doesn't report to our world in data. So China has probably done far more tests than the United States. It looks like the United States right now has just done over 35 million, but he's been saying 40 million since last week. Okay. So they've done more than many times more than any other country. Russia's done 22 million, it looks like. So we haven't done many times more than Russia, and they're any other country. Plus, again, China doesn't report. So I'm going to say that's bull.
our schools open. We want to get them open quickly, beautifully in the fall.
Well, we do want to get
And,
them open
these
beautifully.
are way down. So what we want to do is we want to get our schools open. We want to get them open quickly, beautifully in the fall. And
You know, if you want to open them beautifully in the fall, I think Vermont is really the place to go. With the leaves,
as you know, this is a disease. It's a horrible disease, but young people do extraordinarily well. I was with the governor of New Jersey. We were talking, and he said
Chris Murphy.
And he mentioned a number which is a very high number, but it's
Are you gonna
it's
tell
a
us?
number nevertheless, thousands of people. There was only one person that died that was under 18 years old in the state of New Jersey, and that was
Well, that sounds beautiful. I mean, one kid dying. It's really just kids are just numbers, really.
somebody, I guess.
There also kids are getting Kawasaki disease. Also, kids are having some long-term health effects from this. I actually had some stats on that. Let me see if I can find them while you're doing your thing. You do your thing here.
Just had a problem with perhaps diabetes or something else. But one person out of thousands of people, one person died who was under 18 years old. So that's a pretty amazing stat when you think of it. But I'd like to now just give the mic to our First Lady. She's going to.
Yeah, that is an amazing stat, considering that's one state. So if you get one kid, I was trying to find some stats. If somebody can find me some actual recent stats on COVID and children under 18, please do so. Send them my way. But the stats that I did find, here we go. So many kids are going to be asymptomatic, and they've done a lot of testing in China on this because they've got the population base. And I mean, we could do it, China could do it, Brazil's not going to do it, and we don't do it. The CDC is trying to study things, but we're not doing the contact tracing we're supposed to be doing. We're not doing the amount of testing. Not a single state opened on the guidelines of the presidential's guidelines. The stuff that they put together, not a single state met those qualifications before they decided to open. So 1% of children who get this, according to the CDC study, 1% will suffer from acute respiratory distress syndrome, respiratory failure, shock, or multi-organ dysfunction. Also Kawasaki disease. After these kids recover and they're testing negative, Kawasaki syndrome comes in, and that is basically it's autoimmune disease that attacks the organs, which is something that's happening in adults as well, but this is a different type of syndrome, and it's not Kawasaki's, but that's what they're referring to. And again, I'm not a doctor, I just play one on TV, hopefully. Pneumonia with symptoms of subclinical disease with abnormal chest imaging, and we think that that might be long-term damage with those chest images. 39% of kids who tested positive. Wow. 39% of kids who tested positive in this one study I'm reading with 2,000 children end up with abnormal chest imaging. And we don't know what the long-term effects of weird things going on in people's lungs is going to be. Okay, going on back to this guy.
Say a few words, and then we're going to go with Mike and Karen Pence. And then we'll go around the room a little bit, say a few words. And Kellyanne, you did a great job this morning. Thank you. Really.
Larry, I've been live for 16 minutes.
Great. So if I might, First Lady, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The first pillar of my Be Best initiative is children well-being and taking care of children's social, emotional, and physical health has never been more important than during the COVID-19 pandemic. The administration has worked around the clock to protect Americans from the coronavirus, but many challenges for children
and has failed miserably.
And families can be just as invisible as the virus and just as dangerous. When children are out of school, they are missing more than just time in the classroom. They're missing the laughter of their friends, learning from their teachers, and the joy of recess and play. For children...
Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to listen to her. I don't speak Melania, so if anyone out there can translate whatever that... I mean, she looks kind of nice.
Children with disabilities, without access to technology, or whose homes are not a safe place, the situation can be even worse. As the start of the school...
So, okay, yeah, I get that kids might be in an unsafe home situation. But if they go to school, it's not like these kids are going to boarding school. They're still in that unsafe situation at home. So, now I understand that often teachers or school nurses or principals, whomever, somebody in the school system is often the party that reports kids that are being abused to the authorities. So that's an absolutely vital part that is missing when you don't have the kids at school. But it's not going to change their situation if
year gets closer. I encourage parents, teachers,
hey, Kim,
and school to teach children about the importance of CDC guidelines and to implement them when appropriate. Children's mental health and social development must be as much of a priority as physical health. The same is true for parents. Many will be forced to make stressful choices between caring for their children and going back to work.
So we can't ask American families, American parents, to care for their children. God forbid. I mean, it's not like there's 2 or 3 months in the middle of the year where they have to do that anyway. There's no way we can adjust to this.
And we must address those needs as well as their own mental health.
That's exactly what Casey just said. They're home all summer and no one cares.
Health and well-being. As we continue to come together as Americans to tackle these challenges, I'm honored that you could all be here today to offer your thoughts. I look forward to working with you to make sure that Americans' children and families can be healthy and thriving. Thank you very much.
What is healthy?
Thank you very much. And Governor, thank you. I see you sitting over there. What a job you're doing.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much for being here, Governor. Appreciate it.
Proud to be here.
And thank you, Melania, very much. We just heard, Mike was telling me that Governor DeSantis doing a terrific job. He just announced that the schools will be open in the fall, and we hope that most schools are going to be open. We don't want people to make political statements or do it for political reasons. I think it's going to be good for them politically, so they keep the schools closed. No way. So we're very much going to put pressure on governors and everybody else to open the schools, to get them open.
So pressure on the governors to open the schools. Now, I'm all for opening the schools if it's safe to do so. But Florida is not a safe place right now. And what the governor should be saying is, yeah, we'll open the schools if the doctors say it's okay to open the schools. Not just a doctor, because there's literally dozens of doctors in the country. I'm assuming there's some left since Obamacare. I know that once Obamacare came into law, the vast majority of them quit. That's what I heard anyway. And you can't keep your doctor. Most of them retired immediately. That's what I heard anyway. But no, actual doctors working in public health arenas. And if they say we're good to go, then okay, we're good to go. But this whole pressuring and opening and everybody's got to go back is ridiculous. Parents aren't going to send their kids back if they don't feel that it's a safe situation.
And it's very important. It's very important for our country. It's very important for the well-being of the student and the parents. So we're going to be putting a lot of pressure on open your schools in the fall.
So all you homeschool kids out there, sorry, you're screwed up. That's
Mike, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President.
Can you thank him for his leadership? Would you remember to do that, please, Mike?
And thank you for your leadership.
Oh, there it is.
Day
Hi, he's so predictable.
in and day out since you asked me to lead the White House Coronavirus Task Force. And today is just one more installment in your commitment to make sure that our states and our families have all the resources.
Like, if he did become president, I think Pence would just, stare. No. He'd just go stand by Trump's coffin and praise him.
They need to meet this moment. Our healthcare workers are provided for, but also understanding that we've got to reopen America and reopen America safely. But we convene all of these great leaders from around the country today, Mr. President, because you know that to open up America again, we need to open up our schools again. And I want to thank all those gathered here for their efforts as well. I know I speak on behalf of my wife, Karen, when I also want to express our profound...
David says Pence's mom didn't give him permission to be POTUS. That's true. He's got to, as long as there's no women in the room.
Profound gratitude to the First Lady throughout this pandemic. Her regard for families, for children, for...
Dow says Pence is a Confederate monument. He is. Which is impressive because at the same time he's a tackle dummy.
The emotional impact that this has had on every American is so admirable, and I'd like to invite everyone to show your appreciation for our First Lady and the work she's done for America.
Also, gotta praise Melania because she's in the room too. Yay! Yeah, I was trying to count the mask, Jackie. I think it's 3.
Mr. President,
One's
since
the
moment that we asked the American people to step up, to take efforts to slow the spread, and we, in that 15 days that would become 45 days,
Jana, that's just mean. Melania is at least 45% woman.
We encouraged...
I should say human.
We encourage people to refrain from attending school, if possible, to engage in school from home whenever it was possible. There were 2 categories of heroes that emerged. One was the parents around America who stepped up as never before. And those that are looking on, those that are represented here should know. Your president, the first family, your vice president, and our second family are grateful for the families of this country and everything you've done to be the teachers for your children, to create the structure at home where they could continue to learn even in a challenging time. I also want to say how grateful we are to the teachers, Mr. President, and I'm actually sitting next to one who I've been married to for 35 years. As you know, she actually teaches in a local school in the Washington area a few days a week, and I watched her go in and pack up crates of art materials that children could come by and pick up and take home to continue their learning. And so I'd like to invite everybody to show your appreciation for the parents and all the great teachers who have done the work of continuing to educate our children throughout this pandemic. It's truly been inspiring.
Trump just leaves his mic on the whole time, by the way. He always does this at the conferences. What he usually does, and this is just anecdotal, but he seems to listen to men more. He really does. Like when men are speaking, he'll interject things much more and crack jokes, occasionally funny. Crack a joke at the expense of the guy, or yeah, yeah. He'll engage with them more than he does typically with women, unless the woman is beautiful, and then he compliments them, etc., etc. But I haven't watched this. I've just heard little bits of it as I was driving. So somebody pay attention to that. Somebody fact check me.
And, Mr. President, the American people deserve to know that while we are seeing rising cases across the Sun Belt, at your direction, we're ensuring that states have the resources, the support, the supplies, and personnel that are actually arriving as we speak in states like Texas and Florida and elsewhere to relieve healthcare workers. And to your point, I hope the American people appreciate the point that you made yesterday on the national stage and did so again today, that because of what our healthcare workers have done, because of the innovation and the medicines that we've been able to make available, literally we have seen fatalities decline by 90%. From some of the worst moments of this pandemic.
Actual math.
And we're going to continue to work each and every day to continue to keep those losses low and steady. We're going to save lives as we...
Now, we don't want to keep them steady. We want to keep them. We want to eliminate them like Europe has done and like all the other industrialized countries have done. But yeah, so we have eliminated. We've lowered the death numbers by 90%, but then our cases have started going up. And I showed you yesterday our hospitalizations have started going up, and then the deaths will follow most likely. And again, I hope I'm wrong. Here's your hospitalizations right there. So over the weekend, we saw the hospitalization rate start to climb again. And if you've been listening to the different states, it's happening all over again. Okay, back to Pence.
We reopen our country. Today, Mr. President, as you know, we spoke to the nation's governor on the topic of this summit. We reflected on the fact, as now 47 governors and the governors of 2 territories have announced plans to reopen schools across America, that it's important to do so for a variety of reasons. The First Lady just spoke of this. We ought to well be concerned about children falling behind academically, and there's no substitute for in-classroom learning, for in-person learning, and that's been much discussed at the summit today. But as the American Academy of Pediatrics, so well represented here today, recently reflected, there are social costs, emotional costs, and even physical costs to our children across this country that we spoke with the governors today. It's important that we reopen our schools, as you've directed, for the academic and the intellectual development of our children, but it's also vitally important that we remember, as Dr. McCants-Katz told the governors today, that 7 million American children suffer from either mental illness or emotional disturbance, and they principally receive the care from health and mental services at their school. And so making sure that we're meeting the mental and emotional needs of our children, as well as making advances academically, is what brings us here today. The last thing I'll say to all those gathered here, Mr. President, is from early on you have directed our task force and the CDC to equip families and schools and states with the resources to operate. It was as early as March 12th that CDC issued its first guidance for strategies for school and child care services. We issued decision trees in the middle of May, and just last week, I'm pleased to report the CDC published new guidance for K-12 schools and higher education regarding the type of testing that is appropriate and other strategies. Mr. President, we can bring our schools back. And next week, the CDC is going to issue 5 new documents, how to prepare communities to return safely, decision-making tools for parents and caregivers, symptom screening, cloth face coverings in school settings, guidance, and the rest. We're going to continue to flow these resources and this guidance, but as Dr. Redfield told all the nation's governors today, and I want to acknowledge Governor Parsons' leadership and his presence here today. We're truly grateful. Is that what you've instructed our task force to do and the CDC to do in this moment is to say to states around the country and to local communities, we're here to help. The CDC has issued guidance, but that guidance is meant to supplement and not replace state, local, territorial, or tribal guidance. In a word, Mr. President, you've made it clear to us, we don't want to be the reason any school doesn't reopen. And so our word to the parents that are looking on, to teachers that are looking on, administrators, leaders in your community, is that we are ready to work with the leaders in your school system and in your state to find a safe and responsible way to reopen your schools. That's our commitment. Mr. President, we're continuing to move out on that, on the belief that to open up America again, we've got to open up America's schools. And the American people are taking important steps every day, including this summit today, to do just that. And I'm truly grateful for all of those represented here for being a part of this important work. With that, I'd be happy to recognize Mrs. Pence for a few comments.
Oh, Mrs. Pence is going to speak. I'm going to go grab a pillow, guys. So he said a few states are having some difficulty. A few states. I wanted to show you guys. David shared a site with me the other day. Actually, he shared an article, and they had a site. It's called covidexitstrategy.com, and they've got a wonderful map that's very easy to understand. So there's all these maps on where testing and deaths and cases are increasing. You see them on TV all the time. I think MSNBC and CNN use the same chart, the same map of the United States. And bad is red, and not so bad is slightly less dark red. And then there's a medium red and an orange. And no. Make it very vivid. Here is COVID exit strategy. Red is trending poorly. That's what the country looks like, including Alaska. Yellow, making progress, and green, trending better. So 2 or 3 states trending better. Everybody else, look at all that red. You know what I should do is I should make that orange next time. Okay, let's listen to a couple of seconds of Mrs. Pence. She's a teacher, so I'm going to defer.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mother.
Thank you, Mike, and Melania. I had the privilege of addressing this group earlier today and kind of opening up your summit. But I do want to say thank you to all the teachers. I know at my school, everybody quickly learned how to do online teaching.
Look at this,
it wasn't something that our teachers across America were familiar with, and I just applaud them. They have worked so hard. And the parents really are the unsung heroes. They really had to quickly get up to speed, and it was not easy to do. But you know, our kids are struggling, and they need their friends, and they need their teachers, and they need their routines.
They need
this
to stay
decision
alive and
to
not
open
kill
up
their
the
family.
schools greatly impacts our children. It impacts them academically, it impacts them socially, and it impacts them emotionally. So I applaud what you're doing here today, Mr. President, because our kids, for their mental health and their academic health, they need to be back in school. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Wow, after listening to her speak and Pence speak, I wish I was a fly on the wall for one of their dinner time sessions so that somebody hopefully would see me and kill me.
Thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate it. And I see Dr. Redfield over in the audience, and I appreciate it. And I know you'd like to see everybody coming back and getting back to school in the fall. And I've read everything you've written, and I appreciate that very much.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so there's Redfield sitting in and amongst other people not within 6 feet distance of them, or without 6 feet distance. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. He's not social distancing. When he was in front of Congress, he was wearing a mask. Here, with the president in the room, no mask. That's some kind of weird beard action he's got going on there. Is he trying to do a mask beard? But yeah, so that's the head of the CDC. Never mind.
Doctor, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That's the guy who screwed up the testing, by the way. That's why we have 130,000 dead Americans.
Governor, please.
And he is so scared of the president that he wouldn't even say what happened. He literally stopped his sentence halfway through. Remember when they were on the CDC and Trump said anybody who wants a test can get a test? They asked Dr. Redfield what happened with the test, and he started to explain the contamination in the manufacturing of the test, and he literally stopped halfway through his sentence because Trump was right beside him and said that you're calling it a mistake. I call it quality control.
Maybe we'll go around the room real quickly. We'll go quickly and we'll get everybody to say a few words, and we'll start with our governor.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you said when you come here, I'm just honored and humbled to be here, sitting with you, the Vice President, the First Lady, and the Second Lady.
Is that Missouri?
Those dreams you think about someday, you never imagine them being reality, but here we are. And so it's an honor to be
Mike
here
Parson,
today.
Missouri.
Let me first start off by just saying thanks to the President, the Vice President, for what they've done over the last, well, since they've been in office, to say the least. But over the last 17, 18 weeks, they've been on the phone every week. The President himself has been. And I don't mean for 5 minutes to say hello, governors, and see you later. In-depth conversation with governors across this state. The Vice President has been
telling us that we're all in competition to get the equipment that we need, that we're on our own, and also that we need to dominate our streets before he tear-gassed American protesters.
There for almost 17 to 18 weeks. I know that I've been following with them. And the one thing they've stressed every day in those phone calls, every week, they're trying to do the best thing for this country and for the everyday people out there, and they were trying to make their full support to the governors across this state. And I just want to thank you for doing
the governors across this state.
That.
Thank you.
For leading as what good leaders do.
See,
at
he's
times
listening
of
and
crisis.
he's nodding.
And I just want to thank you for that. When the president said he was going to put a little pressure on governors to open these schools up, I will tell you this, on a few phone calls I've had with him, he can put a little pressure on you if he decides to do that. I will say that.
See you, Jackie.
That. So sometimes we all need a little push to get things going. What the First Lady said when she talked about the kids was so important to me as a grandparent, as a father. I sit there and I think of all the kids that need to be in school. There's the ones that have the privilege of going every day. That's almost common that we go to school for most of the school kids, but a lot of school kids, it's a safety blanket. It's a way to get nutrition. It's a way to get counseling. It's a way for somebody to help them when they cry out for help. And that's also why getting schools back open is so important. And then if you want to take that one step further, it's about making sure people are going to be qualified for the workforce of tomorrow. This virus cannot shut our country down or our states down. We have to deal with it as we would anything else that we've dealt with in this country, and we have to move forward. And economy and life goes on, and education is part of who we are, and kids need to get back in school. Parents need to get more involved in their schools and be back involved in their schools. As I heard speakers today speak, it's part of who we are. It's how we build a future, and I think that's so important. I also want to thank the Second Lady for giving me a little inspiration on a couple of key bills we signed in Missouri, and I want to give you a little credit today. We did full reciprocity in the state of Missouri yesterday. I signed that bill, and full military reciprocity, and the Second Lady kind of gave me a little inspiration for that. And also my daughter's a school teacher. To do that, most of the time we have a father-daughter relationship, except when it comes to teaching, and she becomes a senior advisor to the governor when we talk about those issues on that. But again, I just want to thank the President for his support for our state. People appreciate it, Mr. President. I want you to know that, for the First Lady and for where we're headed in this country, because we've went through hard times before, and we'll continue to get through hard times, and we'll be better off for it, and we'll be stronger than ever. So thank you.
And you won't be changing the name St. Louis, will you?
No, we will not be doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's very important. Thank you very much. Please.
Has anyone heard someone suggest that they're going to be changing the name St. Louis to something? Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I'm delighted to join you, the First Lady, the Vice President, and the Second Lady here today to talk about why it's important for children to be in school. My name is Dr. Sally Goza. I'm a pediatrician from Georgia, and I'm president of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Children get much more than an education at school. Being away from peers, teachers, and school services has lasting effects for children. Although this will not be easy, pediatricians strongly advocate that we start with the goal of having students physically present in school this fall. Of course, returning to school must be done safely. We must take measures to keep students, teachers, and staff safe and with flexibility to adapt as needed to the community's prevalence of COVID-19.
Yes.
The evidence we have so far indicates that children are less likely to have symptoms or severe disease resulting from coronavirus.
True.
Children are less likely to become infected, and they are less likely to spread infection. We know, however, that missing school can have serious consequences for child health and well-being, particularly for students with disabilities or with special health care needs. Students who are in school learn more than reading, writing, and arithmetic. They also learn social and emotional skills, get healthy meals and exercise, and mental health support. Schools help identify and address learning deficits, physical abuse, substance use, depression, and suicidal ideation. These are all critical reasons to get children back to school.
Yeah, so if you guys remember, a lot of school systems shut down almost immediately back in March and then into April, some of them as early as February. But even before that, for example, I wasn't living in Seattle at the time, but I've got enough roots here that talking to my friends here, one of my friends who did send their kid to school at the end of beginning of March, right after they had the first death here in late February in Seattle, and their kid went to school one day, that Monday, and there were about 3 kids in the class because parents immediately pulled their kids home. So yes, there are fewer kids that are infected. There are fewer kids showing symptoms. It just seems to be the way that this disease works. But that's because a lot of kids weren't out there. Parents were quarantining their kids long before any government said, okay, stay home. They were just happy because what do? You want to protect your kids.
Reopening schools in a way that maximizes safety, learning, and the well-being of children will clearly require new investments in our schools.
We simply don't know how this is going to affect children. And the other countries that have done this, that have opened up the schools again, one of them, I want to say Singapore, opened the schools and then shut the schools again. But don't quote me on that. I'm not sure it was Singapore. It might have been somewhere else. But then the other developed nations that are now opening the schools in Europe, etc., they've squashed the virus. They hammered it down. They actually shut the country down for realsies. And you've all seen those graphs. Of their graphs go up and then way down. Our graph goes... it doesn't do that. Here's our graph right here. Right there. I'm doing this left-handed today, guys, so I'm slower. Okay, so there's our graph right there. We never quashed it, and now we're ramping back up. It's worse than it ever has been here. And yet, I've got buddies out there, maybe some of them watching today, that are like, hey, let's go play hockey. I don't get it.
We urge you to ensure that schools receive the resources necessary so that funding does not stand in the way of keeping our children safe or present at school. Thank you, Mr. President. We look forward to working with you and all the people around this room.
Thank you very much. Please.
Yeah, Qatar. So Israel they opened their schools and then they shut them down again? Several countries have done that, but I know I was reading about one, and I forget exactly which one it was, but somebody, a first world nation that did that, and a study in it, and it turned out that, yeah, several of the kids got sick. So...
Thank you, Mr. President. Penny Schwinn from the great state of Tennessee. Appreciate the invitation.
Okay, thank you. According to Qatar, after reopening schools, Israel orders them to shut if COVID-19 cases are discovered. Right. That's. But did they actually shut the schools? Is what I'm wondering.
On behalf of our superintendents, our districts, our families, our teachers, and our public officials, opening.
Look at that. The doctor puts the mask right back on. Nice job.
Up Tennessee, we know that reopening schools reopens our economy. We've got great examples of where superintendents have come together and thought through scheduling to make sure that parents can get back to work for companies who support multiple regions. We've done an incredible job with resources, 20-plus toolkits. We've opened up free professional development for teachers and principals for free statewide and online tools. And I'd also like to just thank the First Lady for her support on child well-being. We had a wonderful conversation
Thank you
a couple
so
of
much,
weeks
Melania.
ago on a task
How's
force
reopening
that
doing for
launched
Tennessee?
statewide, covering the entire state and making sure that all of our children
since reopening, you're up
receive a high-quality public
368%.
education, as
Shut the
well
fuck
as
up,
being
Tennessee.
served in terms of nutrition, transportation, et cetera.
All right,
And I'll
we're
just
skipping by
end by
her.
saying, as the proud
Let me
daughter
get
of a
rid of
police
that.
officer and a teacher, I was raised with safe.
Economy. Oh, I was going to say, so if we just flash back to her. I looked at her the first time. She's an attractive woman, and the president is engaging with her. See? I don't know. This is just anecdotal. This is something I noticed over time with Trump, and this is my confirmation bias.
Thank you, Mr. President. Really, thanks to the...
To reinforce that with the schools in Tennessee today.
Thank you.
She's an attractive woman,
Thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you. Alex?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Really...
Oh, this is Secretary Azar.
Getting through system...
Ass kissing, more ass kissing the butt.
Well, you've
Kiss,
got the
kiss.
initial trial defense, and we're
Now, Trump's going to ask a dumb question. He always does.
studying it both for preventing disease as well as stopping the progression of the disease. So it's really
what's he talking about? Hold
it's
on.
that convalescent plasma that recovered patients would donate and bioengineers that in effectively unlimited supply that we can do. And so it's a cocktail of multiple antibodies that give your immune system an immediate defense. And we're studying it both for preventing disease as well as stopping the progression of the disease. So it's really
And
very
that seems
exciting.
to be just working. It's basically, it's sort of the ABCs of what we're doing.
It
It
is.
seems to be working.
Well, we've got-
Do you have tests right now that say it does work?
Well, you've got the initial trial work that Regeneron did, and that's why we're investing in the late stage development of it. But then we have these other three therapies that, thanks to your leadership, we have so many more tools than we had 3 months ago in terms of therapeutics. So
Thanks to his leadership. His leadership has nothing to do with it. It's doctors and scientists that are coming up with this stuff. He's all like, I took hydroxychloroquine. I feel fine. I get tested multiple times a day. But I just thought, why not? I ran out of Tic Tacs and Diet Coke, so the hydroxy just works great.
we don't want anyone to get sick, but we have much better ways to take care of individuals now than we did 3 months ago.
Okay, that's exciting, very exciting. All right, we'll hold you to it, September. You too, Doctor. You too, Doctor. Please, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I'm Patrick Daly, the principal of St. Vincent de Paul High School in Petaluma, California. We're in Sonoma County. I just want to tell you what an honor this is to be here this afternoon. I want to thank you, thank the First Lady, Vice President Pence, and Second Lady for your leadership of our country. Really, during a very difficult time, for the First Lady's love and protection of children, very important to me. And being a father of 4 kids, three daughters, and a
skipping him.
Instead of the two and back and forth.
But I can't thank you enough for your leadership of our country, and thank you for this honor.
Well, good luck with your plan and getting them open, and hopefully you can do 5 days instead of the 2 and back and forth. I know you want to be able to do that, so.
Yeah, good point, Guitar. Yeah, antibodies, the immunity that we were hoping for with people who had the disease and then have the antibodies, and typically what you see is your antibodies will protect you should you catch the disease again. Your body fights it off very quickly and very efficiently. New studies are showing that might not be what's happening, which is really scary.
You'll try.
Hey,
Thank
Barb,
you very much.
good to see you.
Great job. Please,
Hello,
good-looking person this is, huh?
It's a kid. Okay, now he turned his mic on. Oh, he's having trouble with the mic. And okay, they switched mics. Okay, poor kid.
Hello, Mr. President. I'm a student at St. Vincent de Paul High School. My name's Cameron Vaughn. And I personally just want to thank you for both inviting me and helping to reopen schools. Coming on behalf of the students, it really means a lot just to be able to get back out, and it means a lot to our emotional health and our mental health, just to be out there with our friends, because a lot of us don't have that opportunity. And it helps reopen our schedules, so we have something
That's
to
what
look
you say
forward
about
to.
kids. It's like every baseball announcer ever would, somebody, we've got a guest announcer here today doing color during the 8th inning break here. This is Timmy Vanderbay from North Hampshire. Timmy, good-looking kid. How you doing today? Who's your favorite player? I mean, that's just a standard.
Person of schedules. I run by a schedule, make a schedule for myself. So
it only becomes creepy if you whisper it. We've got Timmy Vanderbay from North Hampshire here in the booth today. Good-looking kid. How you doing today, Timmy? Who's your favorite player?
I just want to thank you very much for getting us back to that.
Great job. Really great. Thank you very much. We'll get you back.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get you back soon. Thank you. Kellyanne, please.
That was almost a human interaction.
Mr. President, Mrs. Trump, and Mr. Vice President, Mrs. Pence, thank you very much. I listened to Cameron Vaughn, and I'm reminded why we're here in this room today on this very important topic, but why we're here in this administration. I believe a hallmark of the Trump-Pence administration has been the success.
Now, Kellyanne's amazing, because watch how her color will change to fade in with the surroundings.
And looking out for and expanding opportunities, safety, and well-being for the forgotten child. And the forgotten child took on a new meaning during this global pandemic. Between the first and third weeks of March of this year, just about 100% of our school children across this country, of all ages, were taken out of their schools and stuck at home. We saw a few.
Stuck at home? We were all stuck at home. It's an interesting way to phrase it. Yeah, we were all quarantined so that we wouldn't die. Stuck at home.
Few things happen, many of which have been spoken about today, but I'll add one more.
Oh, yeah?
The digital divide was laid bare in that so many of our students could not access basic digital assets to allow them to
Yeah, and the digital divide is poor students, less wealthy students may not have the internet at home. They may not have laptops at home. This was part of the campaign. This was promised that Trump was going to take care of this. If elected, digital divide, no more. And what's been done to help with that digital divide since? Apparently not enough, because here's Kellyanne, senior counsel to the president, telling you that the digital divide has been laid bare.
Confidently and competently complete their schoolwork and to learn and to thrive. The schools are our central nervous system because our students are the heart and soul of our nation. And so today your message is, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, that all children matter. And our mission is to make sure that all children can safely and securely re-enter their places of learning very soon.
I believe that children are the furniture.
This has also impacted our economy, and I have a soft spot for single moms, having been raised by one, and our single moms have been disproportionately impacted through their job security, their wage earning, and most of them are not in jobs for which they can telecommute. So we're creating.
So Guitar says digital divide is laid bare. No G5 for rural areas. Listen to some of those nuts who follow your leader. They think G5 is a Bill Gates way of controlling us. Yeah, people are blaming G5, the new cell phone standard of fast internet on your cell phones, for COVID. And they take it very seriously.
Creating pandemics within this pandemic. The good news is that our children are at low risk for transmission, even as they are at high risk for maladies, visible and invisible. The great news is that as we safely reopen our schools, we are in keeping with so much of your agenda.
The same way we safely reopened our states.
And Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Mrs. Trump, and Mrs. Pence, which is to preserve and expand educational opportunities, to respect the dignity of all students, but to respond to the individual needs of all of those students by expanding school choice and charters and educational freedom and opportunity scholarships, allowing them to have more options as they go through their lives, beginning with a quality and solid education. The President has said, if we as a nation can win.
Yeah, Joe, we should have hotspots everywhere, just like every other advanced country in the world. And depending on what cable system you're on, yes, you can. But then a lot of schools have actually partnered with a couple of the different cell phone companies. I don't know if they're all doing it, but I have heard of a couple that giving away free hotspots for kids whose schools are shut down. Which is great. You know, I mean, it's not like the cell phone companies aren't making money.
World wars, dig out the Panama Canal, put a man on the moon. We certainly ought to be able to deliver a quality education to each child. And
online. Yeah,
And that begins with reopening our schools and making good on that promise to each and every one of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kellyanne.
Hi, Mr. President. I'm Jenny Beth Martin with Tea Party Patriots. Thank you, and thank you, Mrs. Trump and Mr. Vice President and Mrs. Pence for having me here today. While I am with Tea Party Patriots, I'm also a mom, and my children are sitting right over there. So thank you for having us here today. Mr. President, you are right, and I hope you will trust your instincts.
Casey, where are you?
America is not meant to be shut down, and we have to reopen schools.
No country is meant to be shut down.
This fall. I've been in touch with almost 1,000 doctors from around the country. I helped Dr. Simone Gold spearhead a letter to you signed by 800 physicians and surgeons who talked about the side effects of the lockdowns. I've done a second letter with over 150 doctors, 240 nurses, 330 educators, 70 national groups, and thousands of parents and concerned.
Wait, Casey, they have the internet in Durham?
Americans who want to see schools reopened. Reopening schools is going to stabilize our society. I think it's the number one most important thing we can do to stabilize our society from top to bottom. Whether it is in a local community, just reestablishing calendars.
So reopening schools is going to be the biggest thing we can do to restabilize society. Getting rid of the coronavirus might help as well, but it's the schools, really.
Which churches, nonprofit groups, traffic patterns, people who don't have children care about the calendar for schools. Kindergartners.
Yeah, she's nervous, Rich. We would be too if we were at the White House.
And elementary school students simply cannot learn looking at a Zoom screen. If they could, we wouldn't need schools in the first place. We could just.
Yeah, no, there's a whole bunch of kids who are capable of learning looking at a Zoom screen. Kevin Lee Daughter did a year and a half of college looking at a Zoom. Well, it wasn't Zoom, it was online. But yeah, there's online school, and it can be done. And Kevin Lee Daughter never had to live through a school shooting.
Just plop them in front of a television. The last place in the world a middle school student needs to be is online, unsupervised by adults. They bully each other when they're in front of teachers. You can't even imagine what's going on with social media right now.
That's going to go on one way or the other. And I thought that Melania had solved that with the Be Best.
Young adults and high school students are losing hope and optimism for the future. And in February, they had so much.
That might have something to do with the virus that every other country. A friend whose kid was going to be a foreign exchange student. In fact, producer Joanna, one of your kids is a foreign exchange student this year, and had to come back home because coronavirus. So
much, and now.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It'd be great to get the schools open in safe areas, but just having a nationwide mandate to open schools. We had no nationwide mandates for anything else. So why open schools all of a sudden?
Now we turn on the television and we can see the destruction that lack of hope and optimism is causing.
We have people tearing down statues because the schools were closed for 2 months.
Employers have to rebuild.
Which organization is she? Which again?
Their companies. They need employees at 110% to be able to do that.
Okay, that just bothers me. That's just poor math. You don't need your employees at 110%. Mathematically impossible unless you're a football player. Football players can give 100% math. 110. Okay, I screwed that up. Never mind. Moving on.
We did everything we could to flatten this curve, and we have to roll up our sleeves now and rebuild our companies. But we can't do that when employees are dividing their time between taking care of their children.
Yeah, and remember during the campaign, that was going to be a universal internet everywhere thing. In fact, even after the campaign, he talked about giving internet to the farmers for their tractors, and all of us elites out on the coast were like, oh yeah, internet for the tractors. No, actually the tractors use the internet. A lot of their farm machinery is internet connected via GPS, etc., so it can do the work without the farmers. It's really quite incredible. But us elites, of course, we look down on the farmers. So, yeah, that's part of the digital divide. Anyway, apparently, the internet problem hasn't been fixed yet. If only we had a president.
Indefinitely for who knows how long, and trying to get their job done. I have one employee who has 5 children. His wife is a dental hygienist. I'm granting him as much grace as I possibly can, which is easy to do. He's a wonderful employee.
Okay.
But I can't even imagine what it would be like to have 5 children and all of a sudden have to homeschool them all.
It's a
And
pain.
it's not even homeschooling, it's helping them with digital learning. Homeschool parents have asked that we're careful about not conflating the two. For me, I'm a single mom now. In 2007, 8, and 9, I went through financial crisis. My then...
Does anybody understand what she's saying? Because homeschool parents, as I've been, like, this whole thing has been an attack on homeschool. And she's saying that the homeschool parents will say, hey, don't throw us into your group. That's digital learning. That's different than homeschooling. Does anybody know what she's talking about?
Husband's business failed. We lost our house, we lost our cars, we lost everything. I cleaned houses to help make ends meet. I've done everything possible to rebuild. I know what those families who are now unemployed are facing. Trying to divide their time between taking care of their children, not knowing if their children are going to be educated, and figuring out what they're going to do with their life.
So this is where she's going to make a plea for the president to continue the unemployment benefits and to make sure that we get that $600 extended because so many American families are suffering. I'm sure that's what she's about to do.
It's the hardest, it's incredibly difficult. And for people who think, oh, we can just work at home, or you're an essential employee, it sends the wrong message.
Okay, Trump is tuned out of this anyway because she's a woman. You see, we haven't heard anything from Trump during her monologue. So Barb just posted here. Barb's in Belgium. We had our schools reopen from May 18th, but only 2 days a week and only ages 6, 7, and then 11 to 12. Interesting. How did that turn out? Yeah, so Rich already asked the question. Is that working out for Belgium?
Every single person in this country is essential. We are the United States of America. Every one of us is essential. Every one of us is important. And
I make believe on TV.
Not every single family can afford a computer so that their children can be online at the same time, or Wi-Fi, as Kellyanne was just talking about, to be able to do Zoom all at the same time. So families are suffering and the education is suffering as well.
So we need you, Mr. President, to provide socialized assistance to, this is what she's going to say here.
And as a single mom, this situation is ripping me in two. You cannot be in 2 places at once, physically or mentally. And I'm doing the very best I can to take care of my children. Their father, when they're living with their father, he does a great job taking care of them. But when they're with me, I'm doing everything I can to take care of them, help them prepare for their senior year of high school, make up prom, dealing with whatever else we have to deal with from the shutdowns, and run a company and work. And it's impossible.
Good news, Barb.
It's impossible to do what we need.
But Barb, correct me if I'm wrong, in Belgium, they put down the hammer. They shut things down. Well, they tested. I know in Belgium did a nice job with their testing. But they tested and they actually contact traced, and they controlled the virus, and then they opened up the schools. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
To do. So the schools must be reopened. It will stabilize our country. I cannot thank you enough for doing this today and sending this message. And the doctors who I've been working with, they want to do anything they can to help calm the fear that is permeating our country. They understand we have to have a healthy respect for the virus, and we have to be able to live our lives. And they and I will do anything we can to help you with that. Thank you very much.
Great job. Looks like you're doing a good job. Is your mother doing a good job? She good, right? You said the right thing. Okay, great job. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, First Lady, Mr. Vice President, Second Lady, on behalf of the great state of Tennessee and Governor Bill Lee, I want to thank you for all of the help and resources and support that you and your administration have provided us. You guys have been accessible, you've been responsible, and that means the world to us in the states when we're trying to do our jobs. I'm Dr. Lisa Piercy. I'm the Commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Health. I'm also a pediatrician and a mother of 4. And I know very clearly that education and economic prosperity are key drivers of health. We know in Tennessee that kids have to get back to school.
Oh, yeah,
and
Dr.
parents
Scarf
have
is
to
there.
get back to work.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to really
Oh, that was quick.
Doctor?
Here we go. Let's see what Dr. Scarf has to say.
Thank you, Mr. President, First Lady, Vice President, Second Lady. I want to really, today was a really terrific day because it took Americans' children, put them in the center, and said this is not going to be a unilateral and a unifocal, one-dimensional discussion about COVID-19, but a discussion that transcended that single moment and brought in the other issues of mental health, academic health, emotional health, and really said that it's important to the whole child to have the availability of schooling. And I think having that discussion that was multidimensional, having teachers here and students here and the health commissioners here and the secretaries here was really very helpful because I think it not only put the child at the center, but also made it clear about how important these other issues are that are beyond COVID-19 in the health and welfare of our children. And so the discussion was terrific, and I think we have a way forward.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Tim.
No Vonky.
Thank you, Mr. President, so much for
No Mikey.
including me in today's event. I think I'm on now. Thank you for including me so much in today's event. I want to thank you. I want to thank the Vice President, the First Lady, and the Second Lady for your
Do we have any guests there today that don't have a Southern accent?
comments and for all the concern you've had for the education of our children. I come today as a
Hi, Casey.
parent, as an OBGYN physician, and as the managing partner of my practice. This has been a very scary, but also a very enlightening experience to have walked through. It's been quite the challenge, and I will say quite the challenge. But the first thing I want to say is it's so important to get our children back in school. Our higher education students, our high school students, and our middle school students are so embedded in social media already. What they need is that social
don't know.
interaction with each other
Stephanie, yeah,
and
the
with
lady
adults.
beside her was wearing a
because
mask,
without that,
and now she's
I
not.
fear what our society is going to look like. The
A lot of them
preservation
have
of
masks
society
sitting on the
is
table.
reliant upon the interaction.
You can see this doctor has a leopard print mask, and that tells me, A, she cares about the health of others, she's a doctor, and B, I do not want to date her.
Action of these children day to day, face to face with each other. I also saw the anxiety of my youngest child, who's here today with me, Macy, back on that side. I saw her anxiety when she came home from college, the anxiety of not knowing how her education would continue, of then trying to set up the Zoom meetings and make it happen, but more importantly, not having the opportunity.
The anxiety of having to set up a Zoom meeting? If that's the kid's worst problem.
For those in-person tutorials or that in-personal relationship with a professor to complete her courses. And I think her courses did suffer because of it. She's a good student and do this education. I just fear for that student especially.
Okay.
Mortality or the morbidities or that problem of interaction with each other. They will have new family units. My daughter will be in an apartment with 3 other girls. They will be the new family unit. And it's important that we educate them for that, for when they come home, that they realize that their elders, their grandparents, and all are now vulnerable to them. That family unit has changed. But we can do this, and we can teach them. And masking, they've learned this. It's important, but we have to reinforce this at the college level to keep it ongoing as a priority.
And if her daughter's looking around the room right now at everybody not wearing a mask, including the president and first lady.
And I know that we can do it. The other thing that I, as a physician, am a strong believer in is herd immunity. And what I'm not proposing is that we put all of our students in a big vat and only the survival of the fittest come out antibody positive. I'm not saying that. I do think it's important.
And if she's a doctor, she might have read the news already that the antibodies don't provide immunity. This is how things are going.
And to stop this tremendous isolation that...
In fact, that also, if the antibodies are not what we need to provide the herd immunity, that's very scary because many of the vaccines are premised on the idea of giving us antibodies and protecting us. And if that doesn't work...
keeps the virus as the winner. We need to get out. We need to have the vaccines to help us. We need to have the interaction that helps to get that immunity so that we can protect our vulnerable.
You don't catch immunity from someone. She's a doctor.
And we can protect our elderly, and we can protect those younger folks with comorbidities because
she's a pediatrician.
Because we've got a society that is immune to the virus, and we can put the virus back in its place.
People talk about the virus like it's got feelings. It doesn't fucking care. All it wants to do is reproduce and kill. That's it. Which kind of like, dude, you're killing the host. What is the point of it?
And finally, I just want...
It's like a virus is like a guy just moving into houses and burning them down. Oh my God, it is the Trump virus.
To, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for hearing me out. And thank you for putting education of our children in the utmost and for putting our economy in that place too. Because as a business owner, when I have parents who have to come late or leave early in order to educate their children and maintain here.
Adhered to what we wanted to do, and we saved, I think, millions of lives. Now we want to be open. We understand the disease much better. Nobody knew what this was. Nobody had ever seen it before. There's been nothing like this since 1917. That's more than 100 years ago.
1918. I think that's the 86th time he's gotten that wrong. We have to figure out what we're going to do for the 100th time.
But we say
we will be covering that one live, unless I'm shooting commercial.
We saved.
This is how my brain works. I started to say, unless I'm shooting a commercial, which I'm auditioning for a commercial tomorrow with Kevin Lee Daughter. I can't tell you anything about it because of non-disclosures and blah, blah, blah. You can't discuss stuff like that. All I can tell is there's a commercial. But as I was telling you guys, unless I'm shooting a commercial, my brain said, wait, you're not supposed to discuss it. I'm discussing nothing, but my brain made me screw up commercial.
Tens of thousands of lives, hundreds of thousands of lives. And now we're open, and we want to stay open, and we will stay open. We're not closing. We'll put out the fires as they come out. I call them...
We don't know how to put out the fires. I mean, obviously. So I tweeted this yesterday. I call it the Koyo Trump syndrome, where you have COVID, and there's more cases, but look at the death. Look at how low the death is getting. And then the hospitalizations start to rise. Oh, but look at the death. And then the death starts to rise. Yeah, but look at the cases are falling because people are going to get freaked out that the deaths are going up and they're going to start behaving again and locking themselves down. And so the cases will start to fall. And in fact, at some point, they might decide they're going to cut back the testing, which is what they're already doing. Phoenix, the 5th largest city in the United States, which is like, what are you doing, Phoenix? You're not the 5th largest city. Stop acting like it. They are trying to get help with the testing, and FEMA has told them, they told the mayor of Phoenix, and the health department of Phoenix verified it. They told the mayor of Phoenix, FEMA told the mayor of Phoenix, we're getting out of the testing business. So anyway, that's the Koyo effect. It's the whatever's bad, look over there.
Embers and fires and whatever you want to call them, but I think it's very important to note what we've done. We've saved literally hundreds of thousands of lives. I was going over numbers before with the vice president, and if you looked at 1 million, 2 million, 2.5 million, those are all reasonable numbers to what we could have had. Right now, we're at a number, as you know, far lower than that. And where would you say we are today, Mike?
130,000.
About 130. So we're at 130, and we could be at way over 1 million right now, and I think it could have been 2.5 or 3 million people. So, but now we're open, and now we understand the vulnerable. We understand who has the biggest problem with it, and we watch that group and that age group, and also people that aren't feeling so well with respect to, in particular, Deborah, certain diseases. The diabetes is bad, the heart is bad, and we watch very closely, and we've done it right.
The diabetes is bad, the heart is bad.
When you look at what happened with Sweden, I kept hearing about Sweden with the herd, with the pure herd. The herd concept of opening up and keeping open, all of a sudden it exploded. You look at what's going on in Brazil and a couple of other places. So we've really done it right, but now it's time to be open. It's time.
That's an excellent point, Producer Joanna. I caught that too. He doesn't know how many currently dead Americans there are from the virus.
To stay open.
I mean, you're the president during a pandemic. Wouldn't you look at the figures during the commercials of Fox and Friends every morning?
And we will put out the fires as they come up, but we have to open our schools. It's so important to open our schools. And what you said from a psychological standpoint with respect to staying home any longer, you can't do it. You can't do it. That has great dangers also. So that's where we are. We're not closing. We'll never close. You'll have certain areas that will...
So, given the choice between Kevin Lee Daughter having long-term psychological upsetness and killing me...
have difficulty, and they'll do what they have to do, and that'll be up largely to the governors, but it's also... they're in very strong consultation with us. We're supplying them with tremendous materials and gowns and masks and anything else they need, and they should be doing it themselves, but we've made a lot of governors look very, very good. We've made a lot of governors look very...
Somebody look up Brazil. I haven't even looked at the Brazil school situation. See if they've shut down their schools or if the virus is spreading through the schools, because they're on the reverse school year from us. They should be midwinter.
Very smart that weren't so smart, and some have just done a good job right from the beginning.
Wait a minute. He just called some of the governors not smart.
Should be doing it themselves, but we've made a lot of governors look very, very good. We've made a lot of governors look very smart that weren't so smart, and some have just done a good job right from the beginning. I could give you a list. I could grade them. I could grade them out from 1 to 50, and you'd be amazed. You might be.
I would love to see that list of the 10 smartest governors or the 50 smartest governors from Trump.
Be surprised at some of them, both good and bad. But I thank you very much for your remarks. I think it's very important. What you said, I think, is very important. Please.
Mr. President, First Lady, Mr. Vice President, Karen, it's great to be here and to represent the great state of Indiana as president of Ivy Tech Community College. We are Indiana's community college, so don't serve 20. Our first generation continue to run to ensure and being part week to week of this administration.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Fess St. John. I'm the Chancellor of the University of Alabama system, which includes the University of Alabama, UAB, UAH, and the Academic Medical Center at UAB. It's an honor to be here. Appreciate your hosting this. When this pandemic started and we had to send all of our students home from our universities, many of us were afraid that this would be the disruption of higher education for all time, that they would learn that they could learn as well on their computer from home as they would on their campuses. One thing this has taught us is we're not worried about that anymore. Right. Our students are yearning to come back to campus.
Well, yeah, campus is fun.
They want to be there. It has reaffirmed the value of on-campus instruction at our institutions of higher learning. So last month, our Board of Trustees committed to returning this fall on all 3 of our campuses to in-person instruction, realizing that we could not eliminate all risk, but that we can reduce risk and manage risk in a way that allows us to go forward. So early on, we looked to the medical experts at UAB, the researchers and scientists and doctors there, to try to come up with a plan to make our campuses as safe as possible and as safe as any in the country. And we've got a four-part pillared program that allows us to do that. The first, and we believe this is important, is to try to have all of our students tested before they return to campus.
Right. Good luck.
Not after they return, but before they return, so that those who need isolation can do that at home, and we can begin the school year. Second, our UAB folks and our people on all 3 of our campuses have developed a symptom tracking app that's used on the phone. It takes 20 seconds to sign up for and 10 seconds every 2 or 3 days to follow up on, to track symptoms. We also have a program to trace contacts that will allow us to manage student outbreaks during the year.
Okay, so they're going to have a tracking app. Green Room, the Green Room Bar was telling me, he sent me the link to the Irish tracking app, and it looks fairly good. I mean, they have these all over the planet. Why we don't have one in this? There should be a universal one in the States. I know Microsoft is working on, Google, Apple. There were all these apps we were hearing about back in March and April that, oh yeah, you just allow it to track you on your phone, and then when somebody has COVID, and for some reason, they're not in the general population yet. China's got them, Japan's got them, Singapore's got them, Hong Kong's got them, Ireland has them.
And then last, a sentinel testing or a
we
sample
need them
testing
more than anybody, and we don't have them.
throughout the rest of the school year. And the vice for our campuses to do our best.
Right about one thing, there's nothing like the campus
service to our students and our citizens, and we greatly appreciate the assistance that you've given us.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great place, a great state, and you're right about one thing, there's nothing like the campus. If we've learned anything, it's the computer will never replace the campus. They thought it would for a while, didn't they? But it didn't. After about 2 weeks, we figured out that it's much better to have it the old-fashioned way, right?
Yes.
That's great. Great statement, actually. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. President, Mrs. Trump,
President,
Mr. Vice President, and Mrs. Pence. I'm a third-grade teacher at Blessed Sacrament Catholic School right here in Washington. I believe, Mr. Vice President, you mentioned some heroes shortly ago. I certainly agree with you. The parents, I couldn't have done this for the past few months at home without the community of parents that we have at Blessed Sacrament School. Plugged by me that God is given to make America.
All four of you. I cannot imagine.
Let's go back.
First Lady.
Be back in school in the fall. Thank you.
Right. We agree. Thank you. Please.
I don't know. We're starting to skip now.
I cannot imagine. I and I know that it's only through God that you can handle that. And
it's not easy.
I cannot imagine. First Lady, Vice President Pence, and Mrs. Pence. First, I just would like you to know that I personally pray for you daily, all four of you. I cannot imagine the burdens on your shoulders. And I know that it's only through God that you can handle that. And
it's not easy.
I so appreciate
he never complains.
All that you've done.
Yeah.
I am the president of our school board in the goes back to just honor.
We are planning to play the season at the University of Alabama.
Oh, he just asked
Mr. President.
However we can help, please don't ever hesitate to
Thank you
reach out.
very much. And will Alabama be playing some great football? What's going on with Alabama?
Mr. President, that's not the first time we've heard that question, I can promise you. We are planning to play the season at the University of Alabama.
Good.
Understand that creates great difficulties and complexities, and we're hoping for that. It's important to a lot of people, but we're doing our best on that one, too.
It's true. And say hello to the coach. Great coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. President, well, I don't know about Alabama, but the University of Miami is going to be playing. The U's in the house. Yes, it's a hurricane in the building. I'm Johnny Taylor, as you know, and I'm your appointee. And I want to start by saying thank you. I college as Vice President, and you all way good on universities. You've done this to safeties, education ways, for American dream opportunities, significant and is to address faculty commitment.
I don't think people know how much we've done for historically black colleges and universities. Nobody knows that we've done more than any administration in history. And
I mean, Obama got the HBCU bill, the HBCU, originated in 2010 for a 10-year term. And Trump just renewed it. But, I mean, Obama got it passed the first time, so that might be also important. You know, the first black president.
Nobody knows that, but maybe they'll find out eventually. You know, they'll find out. But thank you very much. Appreciate it. Please.
I'm Brad Weller from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, 7th grade science teacher. Thank you very much, President, for being here and doing all this. First Lady,
well, he lives there,
Mr. Pence, and I really, really want to thank Karen Pence for stealing.
Look at the little girl in the back. She's so bored right now. Oh, why did they bring her?
All of my information I had written down. This suite, it's momentum. You had to throw it. You had to throw it in. We did the same thing to our students last year. Their momentum was. I mean, they were rolling. They were.
She's everyone right now. Watch the little girl in the background here. I love her. Watch.
I appreciate that. You had to slow it down. The momentum was gone. We did the same thing to our students last year. Their momentum was. I mean, they were rolling. They were a well-oiled machine. And then all of a sudden,
she's
just,
all of us right now.
You had to throw it in park. If we just have to change gears a little bit this year, you know.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Brooke?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Brooke Rollins, the President's Domestic Policy Chief. And while I sit here and listen to everyone, I'm struck. I don't know that the world understands, but I think it's so important.
I'm just watching the little girl now.
We have a president
Which
who
is
was
fine. I can say
arguably
that
one of the most
unless I whisper it,
successful
'cause then-
businessmen in the history of our country. The First Lady who has spent her time and her talent and her extraordinary skill on focusing on the well-being of children. We have a Vice President who was one of the most successful governors in the history of our country. And we have a Second Lady who has a career and is focused on being a teacher and an educator.
She's making taxpayer money, probably in the range of $150 to $180 per year.
This is the dream team. I don't know that there will ever be another leadership team like the four of you to lead this country back to even greater heights than it was ever before. In March of this year,
White House Domestic Policy Council, Acting Director for the People's Republic of the United States.
75 million students' lives and their families' lives were upended when they were sent home. 75 million plus families. Just a couple of months later, here we are in the East Room of the White House with some of the country's greatest educators, leaders, teachers, HBCU leaders coming together to figure out how to get these schools reopened, how to do it in a safe way, and how to do it where we put children first.
We've all been in meetings with her, and this person just sits and praises and recaps. I call them recappers. She doesn't give us any new information, but she goes on endlessly. And after it's all over, she approaches the people in charge, and they shake hands, they attaboys, everything, and she keeps getting promoted. That's how the corporate world works.
The good news, and I'm so glad that the Dr.
The nice thing about being unemployed, no meetings.
Goes is here from the American Pediatric Society Association, because we are now understanding that I think an analysis of 45 studies recently showed that the preponderance of evidence indicates that children are less likely to be symptomatic, have the severe disease, or be really susceptible and
less likely
transmit COVID-19. And for the week ending June 27th, school-age children accounted for only 1.3% of COVID-19 related hospitalizations. The evidence is showing that it really is time for these kids to get back to school, but it really is about the mental health, the well-being, and the emotional well-being of these kids, but also focusing on, as this president has done, this is the last thing I'll say, the forgotten Americans, the vulnerable Americans who are most susceptible to the ravages of what happens when we don't get kids back to school and we don't get kids and lives back to normal. As the mother of a 5th grader, 7th grader, 8th grader, and 10th grader, there is no doubt in my mind, representing all the moms in this country, that we'd really love for our kids to get back to school, but it's about so much more than that. It's about the well-being and safety and economic prosperity of this country. And having this dream team, along with Kellyanne and Secretary DeVos, Secretary Azar, and our teams here, this country needs to know that we are fighting every single day for every American and to ensure that we can reopen safely and make sure that it's done in the proper way. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you very much. Please.
Mr. President, Mrs. Trump, Mr. Vice President, Mrs. Pence, it's an honor to be here representing Forsyth County Schools and Forsyth County, Georgia. We're about 30 miles north of Atlanta, serve 52,000 students in our school system. We're ready to go. We're going to open our doors on August 6th. We've been planning and preparing all summer. We will have guidelines.
So going with her stat of 1.5% of the hospitalizations being children in the United States, that means that last week in the United States, 5,073 children were hospitalized. This disease that doesn't affect the kids, they come out just fine. 5,000 American children were in the hospital with COVID. Her stats.
In place.
And I'm looking at the CDC website.
I'm really proud of our teachers and our students, how well they performed last spring.
And again, to reiterate this point, and it's so important because I'm saying it, the kids haven't been out there. They haven't been exposed like adults who have to work, etc. Adults who take the bus. We shut down the schools early. Parents pulled their kids out of the schools early and protected them from COVID. Once we put them back in there, how much higher is that 5,000 number going to be?
Does everyone?
Especially as cases skyrocket out of control. Anyway, I think we should open the schools.
One has said this morning, this afternoon, our students need to be back in school, and we will be prepared on August 6th. I will assure you of that.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much.
Hold on, everybody. Jeff says we're going to be prepared on August 6th, so we're good to go. You know what? I apologize for wasting everyone's time. Let's do Billy Joel.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mrs. Trump, Mr. Vice President, Mrs. Pence. Mr. President, thank you for your bold leadership and for convening us here today for this vital conversation.
Vital.
It's clear our nation's schools must fully reopen and fully operate this school year.
It's clear because
anything short of that robs students, not to mention taxpayers, of their futures. And their futures represent our nation's future. So it's not a question of...
So my taxpayer dollar paying for the 5,000 kids who are currently hospitalized with schools closed. Schools closed. 5,000 children in the hospital.
If, it's just a question of how. We had a good discussion today on how to ensure schools reopen and education continues in ways that keep students and teachers healthy and safe. Under the President's strong leadership, our economy is roaring back. Our schools must do the same.
It is not.
This is the moment for American educators to rise to meet the needs of every student. Students can't afford to fall further behind. Even before the virus, too many were trapped in schools that don't meet their needs.
So we need charter schools. Charter schools are going to solve the problem. If only we had somebody in charge of the public school system in the United States.
So this is the time to reopen schools, to rethink school, to be more nimble, more agile, more responsive to students' needs in a 21st century changing world.
She's half right. We do need to be more agile and nimble and have better schools. She's not right that this is the time. The time was 30, 40 years ago. The time has been the last 3.5 years that Trump has been in office.
This moment demands actions, not excuse-making or fear-mongering. We've done whatever it takes before.
Dr. Howard, I don't know what we're yelling about.
And as Kellyanne said earlier, and as you've often said, Mr. President, we've dug out the Panama Canal, we've won world wars, we've reduced the Berlin Wall to rubble, and thanks to you, we've defeated ISIS.
Has he said
that?
With
grit, determination, and grace.
Wait, hold on a second.
We can. We've
That's what I
reduced the
heard
Berlin
earlier.
Wall to rubble, and thanks to you, we've defeated ISIS.
We have not defeated ISIS. Certainly not thanks to Donald Trump. ISIS is still alive and well and attacking people in the world, killing them.
With grit, determination, and grace, we can do what's right for all students and ensure they are back in school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Betsy. Appreciate it. Very nice.
Nicole Washington. I am a trustee. Well, knows who further we can stand on a dime as to accomplish.
Thank you, Middle Tennessee State University. I was actually homeschooled all my life by choice, not because of a pandemic. So I really understand what people have
I was just about to skip her, but hold on. Let's see what she says about homeschooling.
been going through. And I was honored to receive the Buchanan Fellowship at MTSU, which is the highest academic scholarship given to incoming freshmen.
But she was homeschooled. How did she end up getting a scholarship? Because homeschooled kids are dumb. That's been the takeaway so far.
I was heavily involved on campus. I actually served as the student body president as well, so I know the extreme importance that the campus environment has on student success.
Yeah.
My fellow students across the nation have lost a lot this year, and it is important to all of us to safely return to campus this fall. My university has done an exceptional job of updating the students, of reassuring them that they are tirelessly working for our safe return to campus. And I'm honored to be here today, included in this discussion, and I'm really excited to take back what I learned to my fellow student body. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. President, First Lady, Mr. Vice President, Second Lady. I will brag on her. She is an MTSU student. I'm the president of Middle Tennessee State University. We attract the best and the brightest, not only in the state of Tennessee.
But she was homeschooled. How is she the best and the brightest? It's ridiculous. We already took a look at Tennessee. Half the people there are from Tennessee. What the hell is happening?
But from around the United States. Like all the participants here this afternoon, I am honored to be a part of this very important conversation regarding the reopening of schools, colleges, and universities. For the past 20 years, I have served as president of this great institution. We are 37 under 20. This
has to end at some point.
Can say that.
Okay,
a lot of work used. Well, thank you very much. Thank
All
you
right,
very
back
much.
to Trump.
Great job, too. So I want to thank everybody, and I want to just say get open in the fall. We want your schools open.
Oh, I did hear the end of this. Just for context, Harvard announced today that it's shutting down for the school year, but for safety of both the children, the faculty, and the people who work at the school otherwise. And they'll be making provisions for people who have to do lab work, etc. But Harvard will not be opening this fall. Everything will be online. That's what you need to know.
It's going to be a much better climate than it is right now. We're on the right side of things, Deborah. I think we can say that. A lot of work has been done. We understand what we're doing very, very well. Again, mortality rate, the lowest anywhere in the world. And
we do not have the lowest mortality rate in the world. We have a 5% mortality rate, just under 5%. I'll be totally fair here. That is lower than, say, Italy and France, but much higher than many, many countries. In fact, if we go to Our World in Data, which is his favorite data site to use, and remember with Our World in Data, you can take countries out so you look better. Here's the Our World in Data. So here's Our World, as you move up the, everything's backwards. As you go up the chart this way, you go from 0%, those gray lines, 0%, all the way up to 40%. Way up there. And my hand's cut off. So as you have more cases, you go to my left and your left on the screen. Hey, that worked out. I wish you could see my mouse. You can't. What if I do... there's nothing I can do to it. Anyway, the U.S. is so bad, it's literally off the chart. All of these are automatically labeled. France, India, Belgium, Germany. Look up there in the top right-hand corner. I wrote Trumpland because the U.S. is so high up on the chart because of the number of cases. It's off the chart. It didn't get United States. Computer just didn't do it. It's like, no, this is way too far to the right. I'm not even labeling that. Literally off the chart with our mortality rate. And this is on July the 7th. This is today. So no, we do all of these. You can't see my mouse, but if you look down at the bottom, we see Singapore, Qatar, Nepal, Bahrain, Palestine, Rwanda, Georgia, Taiwan, Australia, Croatia, San Marino, Liechtenstein, Curacao is below 5%. Yeah, all of those countries below. But this is a lie that he told this morning, and he's just continuing with it. Somebody told him we have one of the lowest rates compared to some countries in Europe. Israel, 1%. We're at 5%. Norway is underneath us. They're in Europe. Sweden above us because they went herd. And I know I've had several Swedish people over the last couple of days tell me that, hey, we're in Sweden and we're all social distancing. Like, the government doesn't make us, but we're doing it. And it's still bad because we didn't do it to start with. And the government didn't shut down the bars, etc., so that the idiots were still going out there. And you cannot control this thing unless you can control the idiots. And if there's anything that Trump has taught us, it's that the United States has a lot of fucking idiots. And this is where we are. Top right. Right up there. Here, I can fix this. Watch. No, I can't. I can't do it. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. Hold on. There. This is where we are, people. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch. Right there. That's us. Off the chart. It's like see? If I'd been drinking, I couldn't do this. Okay, rant over. Here we go.
We want to get this done, and we want to get our country going again. Economically, we're doing well. We want to.
That's a lie. That's a lie, and it can be proven with graphs and math and numbers. There's nobody telling him otherwise. Remember, he's gotten the year of the 1918 flu incorrect 86 times. Nobody in his circle has bothered to correct him. That entire time. Oh, actually, keep saying 1917. It was 1918. There was a 1918.
Do well with the education.
Or maybe someone has, and now they've been fired.
Announced that they're closing for the season or for the year. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's an easy way out.
Good point, Bam. I should have written in Sharpie. Go back.
With the education, I see where Harvard announced that they're closing for the season or for the year. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's an easy way out. And I think they ought to be ashamed of themselves. You want to know the truth?
Harvard for shutting down for safety and moving everything to online. By the way, Harvard is helping students who are less fortunate. It's not the right wording for it, but you know what I'm saying. Harvard is giving away hotspots and computers, etc. Harvard has quite a bit of money with their endowment fund, and they're using that plus some of the government money to take care of students in the emergency situations. And if students don't have safe environments to go back to, they're living at Harvard. They're provided for. Harvard's doing a fantastic job, but according to Trump, they should be ashamed of themselves because they're violating their leaders' will. And that's what it comes down to.
But I noticed that today, and probably others are doing that. That's called the easy way out. I don't know if people are helping them. I guess their endowment's plenty big. They don't have any problem with that. But that's not what we want to do because it's very important, as so many of the parents and instructors said today. It's so important that the children at this age, especially, that they're together on campus. And that's what we're striving for, and we're going to be very strong on that. We're going to be very...
Good catch, Marcy. He did say for the season because of his television background or perhaps his sports background. I have no idea.
Very powerful in that view. We want our schools...
He did correct himself, though. We all use the wrong word from time to time.
Open in the fall. Tomorrow I'm meeting with the president of Mexico. I say that to the media because it's going to be quite a meeting. He's a good man. He's a friend of mine, and we have a great relationship.
We have a great relationship. Elmo's one of my best friends. I call him all the time.
Relationship with Mexico, so we'll be meeting tomorrow. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations, everybody.
Congratulations, everybody. What for what? I don't know what they did to get congratulated, but that was nice of him to do that. Okay, God, that was a long one, guys. This has been an hour and 42 of broadcasting. So I am going to go right to credits. Let's see, is it late enough? Oh, we might have a result on the Billy Joel Madness. I saw producer Rich is in the room, so let's just pull up Billy Joel Madness quickly. Hold on. I want to make sure I don't reveal all my personal information. You know what? I don't care. No one's watching except you guys. Okay. Let me pull this up. Let's see. Give me a second here. Here's Twitter's. There it is. Okay. And there's the bracket. Let's pull up Billy Joel Madness and see if it's over. Hold on, Billy Joel. For those of you watching who don't know what we're doing, we've been doing this Billy Joel Madness like March Madness, except we're doing all of the songs of Billy Joel, trying to come up with a final number one. And if we go to the latest here, we can see that, is it over? No, there's 2 minutes left. Oh, okay, so there's 2 minutes left. It's the longest time versus Goodnight Saigon. Goodnight Saigon is walking away with this thing, but there's only 17 votes total, so 64 to 35. We could have a turnaround right here. So if anyone wants the longest time to win, go to Billy Joel Madness right now and get your vote in right now. There's not much time left at all. And we might come up with a winner right here. I think Goodnight Saigon's going to take it. So this broadcast will last at least 2 more minutes. Let me reload this, and I apologize for the sloppiness today. I'm doing everything left-handed. Tennis elbow. 2 minutes left still. So if you want to vote in that longest time versus Goodnight Saigon, head on out, type in hashtag Billy Joel Madness, just like this right there, and then you can vote on that. Otherwise, I'll just check in on the chat room. Elmo, no. So AMLO is the Mexican president. That's what everybody calls him down there because of initials. So my joke is that Trump calls him Elmo, and thinks that he's talking to Elmo on the phone. And his voice isn't as high as you would think over the phone. But that's an old joke of mine, which nobody, I'm sure, got like 3 likes on Twitter. Mostly me, just my fake accounts. No, thank you, Bev. Bye, Barbara. Bye, everybody, I guess. We're almost done with this. And what we should do, probably, because Rich is still in the room, is to play his opening sequence. Here it comes, Rich. Billy Joel Madness, presented by Rich Mack, producer of the century. Okay, we're back. So let's go back to the close-up here. 1 minute left. Oh, it's updating in real time. So I don't think it's changed. No, 18 votes. Someone did go and vote. So the longest time got a little bit closer. 2 votes could swing this thing. So you guys, if you do want to vote for the longest time, you have about a minute left. And theoretically, this thing is going to change. I've never seen a vote end on Twitter. A poll, if you will. And we could see that happening before our very eyes. I always wondered why the expression is very eyes, because you could just say before our eyes, and it's the same. Very doesn't change anything. In fact, very doesn't even make sense. Rich just voted. Oh, you voted for the longest time, Rich? Oh, since you're the producer, since you're the sponsor of this event, we should just say that Goodnight Saigon lost. Goodnight Saigon, though, is honestly a really good song. The trouble is, the longest time is also his a cappella venture. For what it is, it's really good. I remember how popular it was, and it brought a lot of people into the a cappella genre who had previously had no interest. Remember, this is what, 86, 87, whenever it was. I just relate it to summer camp because we used to sing it at summer camp. So everybody get in there and vote for the longest time. You've probably got seconds left to do so. And did we just end? Final results. Yeah. Oh, wow, guys. You guys tightened it up. But I'm sorry, Rich. Those are the results. Goodnight Saigon takes it 52 to 48. Wow. That was close. Oh, sorry. Well, hold on. I don't know. Hey, I will do this because you're the sponsor of this event, Rich. Stephanie says she wanted to vote, which then would have tipped it in favor of the longest time, but she couldn't find it. I told you guys we should have done mail-in voting on this. Rich, it's up to you. If you want to accept Steph's vote on her word, remember, Stephanie is disabled. If you want to accept Stephanie's vote, which would then flip it to the longest time, I'll do that. It's up to you. I'll wait here. Rich, do you want to accept Stephanie, disabled, vote, or are you just going to say, no, rules are rules, this is the way it is? Please. One more vote would make it 22, and it would make it a tie. And then it either goes to overtime or you guys in the chat room can decide. Yeah, so yeah, that changed. That's funny that the 21 votes changed in front of my eyes, too. And Dr. Howard is also voting for the longest time. So, and Joanna, producer Joanna, seems upset that the longest time has lost. So, Rich, do we stay with these results or do we tip the scales? Do you put your finger on the scale and change this? It's up to you. And again, nobody cares. So it's up to you, producer Rich. What do you want to do? If Kevin Lee daughter was here right now, she'd be like, no, Dad, you can't do that. No, the vote's done. It's done. Let's see. Next time, look up Billy. Oh, yeah, you have to. That's how you get there. So up at the top of the screen here, hashtag Billy Joel Madness on Twitter. That's how you do that. Well, we're waiting for producer Rich to weigh in. Okay, now let's flip it. Okay, Rich, we're flipping the results. Final results. Let's go to the bracket here. Final results. Let's go over here. It didn't save. So New York State of Mind won yesterday. It didn't save it. Wait, Good Night Saigon. Oh, wait. Hold on, guys. Sorry. I got to find Good Night Saigon. Longest time, Good Night Saigon. There it is right there. And I'm going to touch this, and I'm going to say the longest time won, and it was 52-48. And we've just lost all credibility with the UN, but you know what? Fuck them. Producer Rich is in charge. Okay, so the longest time will be taking on the winner of, I can do it on this screen. I switched over to my right hand because I care. My Life versus We Didn't Start the Fire. Oh, that's going to be a good one because people love both those songs. I cannot wait. So I'll put those up in just a minute here. And I've got to fill in the upper bracket as well. First, I'm going to hit save the changes. So I'm going to put those up there, and then you guys can go to vote. And as somebody pointed out, the way to vote is either go to my timeline because it'll be up there very quickly, or just go hashtag Billy Joel Madness. Give me a minute to put it up there. In fact, you know what? I might as well do this while we're on here. Sorry. And I am using my right hand now. No excuses. We're going to tweet. Boom, boom. And it's, which ones were they? My Life versus We Didn't Start the Fire. I know the shouldn't be capitalized, but in songs, that's what you do. Let's go over here and grab the bracket and put it in here. Share the link. Almost done, guys, and then you can vote. Okay, full bracket is here. And let's grab We Didn't Start the Fire. We'll put that in as the second choice. And the first one is My Life. And we'll make that for one day. We'll make that for 23 hours so that it ends at about 6 o'clock tomorrow, which is better for the folks in the East Coast and in Europe. Barb, if you're still up, thanks for sticking around. I think you left already. Sweet 16, one advances, one go to the great. Yeah, we don't need to change anything else. The other goes home. Full bracket, we have My Life versus We Didn't Start the Fire. We tweet that. The poll is up now. You guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for sticking around through all of this. That was a long one today without any new information whatsoever, so I appreciate it. If you'd like to contribute to this, go to kevinleefather.com. You can become a patron like many of the fine people that you see over there. Good night, everybody. It was good to see you. Did we update Prelude versus Scenes from an Italian Restaurant? Did we actually get the results on that? Hold on. Yeah, Scenes won. Here's your results right here. Boom. Prelude lost. It was 17% to 83%. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant absolutely dominated. That, I would say, is the favorite for the competition. People who have commented on it think that should be the best song. And as At Random says, it's, I think, 3 songs in one. Possibly 4 songs in one. I don't know. At Random said something. It's really, it's not fair because it's more songs in one song than any of the other songs. However, Prelude Angry Young Man is 2 songs in one. So just by virtue of the number of songs within a song, Prelude should move on to, it just, you know what? It's a roll of the die or the roll of the algorithm. That's just the way it goes sometimes. So Scenes, might as well update that too. Thank you for the reminder. Scenes. Oh, you guys are way off. What the hell are you doing? There we go. There's Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. Okay, and then I'm going to let you guys go. Prelude, Angry Young Man. What was the score? It was 17 to 83. So 1783. I saw what I did there, guys. I put the wrong one on. You can't see it anyway. Boom. There we go. That has moved on. And Scenes from an Italian Restaurant will go on to face New York State of Mind, and that didn't get updated either, so I'll do that after you guys are gone. I'm going to save the changes here. I'll take care of the rest of it. I might forget to, but who cares? Let's see here. So the end of your chat. Everyone stay safe. Please do. Jana, you're very welcome. Good night, everybody. Good night, Stephanie. Go watch. You're able to watch Rachel Maddow. Good. I hope you tape it because there's a lot of commercials after the first segment. Producer Joanna, thank you. At Random, which makes it the perfect song. That there's 3, how many songs in one? 3 or 4 songs? Anyway, so At Random hopes that Scenes from Italian Restaurant takes the whole thing. I can't argue. I'd be fine with that too, and I don't vote. Yeah, DVR's so good. Rich, I think the cheese challenge is next. If you want to sponsor it, Rich, I'll do that. All right, good night, everybody. Here's some of the sponsors and all the producers and all the other stuff. I still haven't updated it, but I appreciate you all.